Hello, I'm Odin, and today I'm going to make my first prop from a Pixar movie. It's Ian's wizard staff from Onward. I printed a picture of the staff and added lines to figure out the scale of the staff. Barley looks to be about 6 feet tall, so I figured the staff is going to be just over 6 feet tall. I can also see how wide the different parts of the staff is and how far apart the bends and knots are. So the bottom from wood, and then this is all PVC. Should be able to put a flashlight here to make the crystal light up. Okay. I'll start with some 3/4 inch PVC pipe. How much is here? About 4.5 feet. So do about a foot off the bottom of wood. That'll get me to 5.5 feet, which is about where the crystal goes, and that's where it needs to stop anyway. I cut a length of broom handle for the wooden bottom, and the wood is too big to fit inside of the PVC pipe. I heat up the end of the PVC with a heat gun, and then I can force the wood broom handle into the soft plastic. I left the wood a little longer than I wanted because I can cut it down if I need to. I continue to heat sections of the PVC pipe, so I can bend it into the organic shapes that the staff has. I continue to bend the pipe, and there's a bigger bow kind of in the middle, and a small double bend near the top. The staff will be long enough that it would be difficult to fit in a car, so I cut it in half. A couple of 3-foot sections will be much easier to move around. I heat up the pipe again and shove a short piece from a wooden painter's extension pole. The thread fits in any cheap paint roller. I can cut off the roller part, heat up the other end of the pipe, and shove the paint roller handle into the pipe. But the PVC pipe will still move on the plastic roller handle.
Oh, okay.
I drill some pilot holes and then use some screws to attach the PVC pipe to the roller handle. I also made sure that I missed the wood inside.
There we go.
Now they unscrew like I want them to. At about 5 feet, I need to increase the diameter of the pipe to fit a light. I cut a portion off the end of the 3/4 inch PVC, and then I take 2 pieces of some thin-walled 1-inch PVC. The shorter piece has a section cut out so I can squeeze it to fit inside the bigger 1-inch pipe, and then slip it over the 3/4 inch pipe.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it is good.
I can take it all apart again and glue together all 3 parts with some PVC pipe glue. I sand down all the PVC pipe. What I'm really trying to do is scratch up the surface of the PVC so I can glue foam onto the pipe with contact cement. Before I add the foam cover, I decide where I want the button to activate the light. The gem should only glow while casting a spell, not all the time. I have a momentary switch. It's a little big, but it'll work. I solder a long piece of wire to the switch, cover the ends with shrink tube, drill a hole, and feed the wire into the pipe. The switch is plastic, so I can just glue it to the pipe. Now I'm not worried about getting the flashlight inside yet. I need to find the Phoenix gem first. In the movie, the end of the staff has 3 bent branches that go around the gem. In order to make those and to keep the shape, I'm going to use heavy wire to build the foam on top of. I have 1 fitting in the shop that I can use to anchor the branches, but I need to cut the threads off because the flashlight won't fit past it. After modification, I glue the fitting on and drill out 3 sets of holes. I bend some thick wire and put them in place. I'll cover them with foam later after I cover the rest of the PVC pipe. I start planning how I want to cover the PVC pipe and hide the button.
Bulk up my corners a little bit more. If I can. I think I can.
I could just wrap everything in 1 thick layer of foam and sand it down to the shape that I want. But I thought that if I used multiple layers of 4mm foam, I could have a little more control over the shape and to keep most of the staff a smaller size. I did use some 6mm and a little 10mm foam near the top because it needs to be pretty thick. After the first layers are glued on with contact cement, I use a sanding drum on my rotary tool to smooth out the steps between the layers of foam. My concern is that if I didn't do this and I put a covering layer of 4mm foam directly over everything, it wouldn't look like a smooth branch. You'd be able to see the different layer steps as it gets smaller. I also smoothed out the seams on the lower half. And I had added some irregular shapes on the lower half. Sanding down the edges eliminates that look of, hey, I cut out pieces of foam and just glued them on there. I use the corner of the drum to carve long wood grain cracks into the length of the staff. The staff in the movie almost looks like old driftwood, so that texture is what I'm going for. Well, that's giving me the pretty gnarled wood look that I wanted. You need to be in danger of getting splinters from this thing, right? So I think I'm getting that with this. I think I set this aside. I need to cover more here. This still needs to be almost 4 inches thick, so I need to add another inch diameter up there. And I need to cover this up. All right. I add foam around the button, building up layers to help hide it. And I also glue on more layers of 4mm foam, covering most everything else. I had a full round EVA foam dowel that I cut in half on my bandsaw. Now I can glue it back together over the thick wires. After a while, most of the PVC pipe is covered. The 3 branches are all still too thin, so I wrap the dowels with 4mm foam. They're supposed to be about 1 inch thick anyway. I added more on the base of each branch because they need to look like they're growing out of the staff and not just stuck on it. Then, more sanding. I really want it to look organic and weathered, so lumpy is perfect, but cut foam seams are not. I just keep working the sanding drum, smoothing pieces out, making everything look like it just kind of grew that way. And I carve out some deeper grooves between the branches. Eventually, I have everything smoothed out and it's starting to look really good. I clean the dust off everything, the table, the staff, me, but I still need more texture, more cracks, more layers, which meant more sanding, more gluing, and more carving. But I finally get a level of cracking texture that I like. I screw the 2 halves together again, the texture over the seam line. There is a heavy crisscross pattern in the middle where the wizard would grip the staff. And I also sanded down the button itself, a lot. I'm trying to hide the fact that it looks like a button, but the more I sand it, the better acrylic paint is going to stick to the plastic. I keep sanding and carving for a while. On occasion, I would add a piece of 2mm foam to cover up some mistakes or some holes if I needed to. And then it felt kind of all of a sudden, I was finished. After a couple of hours of sanding and gluing layers, I was in a place where I didn't want to add any more and I could start painting. I thinned my dark brown Plaid FX paint with a little water, and it really helped with the painting. These paints are pretty thick normally, which is probably good, but I didn't want the smallest carved cracks to be filled with paint. I'm really liking how it's starting to look, even with just a coat of dark brown over the whole staff. And I really like how the paint behaved thin with water. After the base coat is dried, I thinned some black paint using even more water than before in order to make a wash. And what I'm looking to do is to get paint into all the low areas. I want black to work down into the cracks. And then I can go back and wipe off the wet paint off of all the high places and bring the brown back. I cover the entire staff with this wash of really thin black paint, wiping everything down as I go. And then I set up a fan to help it dry. Since I only want the black in the really low places, I use the base color again, but only painting the high places. Now this isn't really dry brushing, it's kind of the same idea. It's kind of a wet dry brush. And I'm already happier with how it looks. Next, I use one of the lightest browns that I have. This is more like dry brushing. It's still just a little heavier than typical. I'm mostly hitting the high areas and definitely not getting inside the branches. Each layer of paint is looking better. And then I actually mix a color. What I want is a light brown color with a small amount of yellow. And I'm finally really just trying to dry brush. I'm just trying to get the very tops of everything. And I'm trying to be selective on what I dry brush with this color. But I still get a pretty good amount of the whole thing. I've got my wizard staff. I suppose I need a phoenix gem now. Let's make a phoenix gem. Looking at screen catchers, I sketch out a proper size phoenix gem on some foam core. Then I can check the size that I think I want by placing it in the staff. I'm liking what I've got, so I'm going to do something I haven't done in years, and I'm going to try to sculpt something from clay and then cast it. I just start by carving the profile of the gem. If I have to, I add a little to the sides and shave off a little more. Now fingerprints are going to be a problem, and so I knew that I could only get so far by holding it in my hands while working on it. So I put together a simple stand. And by heating up the threaded rod, I could get it inside the clay. And then I can add some extra around the base. This lumpy stuff could be painted to look like the staff. Then I started the process of heating the little spatula and smoothing out all the facets of the gem. Now I plan on casting this, so any fingerprint, any lump left will be part of the cast I make later. I remove more as I go, trying to get a more balanced shape. It's not, but I was trying. Brandon at Mold Life was telling me that there are clays which will smooth out if you use a strong rubbing alcohol on them. And this 99% seems to be working, but it also dries out the clay a little, and it caused or revealed a big crack that was down the side, which is not a big deal because I need a couple of cracks on the gem anyway. I use floor wax to seal the base, and decide why not, and I go ahead and seal the clay with it as well. Well, it's been a couple hours, and all the floor wax has cured. Oh yeah, it's very smooth. Good, okay. So now what I need to do is make a mold. And I'm gonna do a basic box mold, just like Mold Life showed me. I seal the edges to prevent leaks. And I mix up some of my Plasticil FS20 silicone rubber, and I pour the mold. I mix up another batch to be sure I fully covered the Phoenix gem. Now I let it set a couple of hours, even though this silicone can set up in 25 minutes. And I cut the side and remove the clay original. All right. Well, that worked really well for a release. That's very clean. I wrap tape around the mold to prevent leaks and fill it with some easy flow clear resin. The mold changed colors, it fills with fluid, that's awesome. This resin's actually kind of old, it foamed a little. Easy flow cures quickly and I can remove the gem. I made the round base so it could fit right into the PVC on the end of the staff. And I can test the flashlight to see how well it'll glow. It doesn't light up at all. Well, that's disappointing. The bottom lights up great, but it doesn't transfer at all. I can get other resins later and try again. I have the mold, but I need a gem that works today. So the flashlight is not going to happen today. But it fits like it should in the staff, which is great. Well, as a static prop, that'll work. All right, but I think I want to get different resin because I really kind of wanted this thing to light up. I'm a little disappointed that it's not. So not sure what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. Before I sculpted the gem, I had actually stopped into a store and picked up something else. It's close to Easter currently, and they have these for $1, so that was one quick thought. But then I was looking at this, and I realized it should fit. I thought it was going to fit. It totally fits. And it's loose. Okay. This could be cool. Let's pour some resin in this. Because the ball is in the mold, I'm gonna need a lot less resin this time, and the gem is gonna weigh a lot less, which is good. And I was so happy when I opened up the mold and pulled out the gem and everything looked just fine. I'm going to put a little shoe polish on the gem. This will fill in the cracks and knock down the toy look that it currently has. And then I paint the lumpy stuff in the base with the same brown that I painted the staff. And then dry brushed it with the color that I had made up. Barley just jams it in there. The gem fits exactly where it's supposed to, and I've got my very own wizard staff. All right. That may not be technically perfect. That may not be technically correct. It'd be much nicer if I could just hit a button and have it happen, but still, I like that. That's simple, that's stupid, that works. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm okay with this. This is a great place to have it for now. When the stores are open and I can order things and have them shipped to me when I need to in a timely manner, maybe I'll fix it then. But for now, this is great. So I've got a wizard staff from Onward. I'm really very happy with this and this is how Odin makes. That's giving me the pretty gnarled woodwork with blah, blah. I want to thank Chrispy, Joshua Mitchell, and all of my Patreon supporters. My Patreon support is the #1 thing that makes this show possible. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe. Have an idea for something for me to make? Please leave a comment below. And if you make any of these projects, you can send me a picture.